Welcome back, everyone. This is a big week here in Northwest Ohio in the fight to cure diabetes. There's a big walk coming up at Ottawa Park on Sunday. It is the Walk to Cure Diabetes. JDRF is the major organization that is involved here. Our Diane Larson been part of this for a long, long time, and you may see some familiar faces in the promo that she shot not too long ago. Two of those young men are here in studio today. Will Beebe, Miles Conklin, a couple of seniors from St. John's Jesuit. Yes. Great to have both of you here today, living with type 1 diabetes. And Lori Lamb is the executive director of JDRF of Northwest Ohio. Great to have all of you here today. We're a week away now, a little more than a week away. Actually, 2 weeks away, from 2 weeks away now from the big walk to cure diabetes. Let's talk about type 1 diabetes, which had the stigma, guys, of being juvenile diabetes, right? Right. Or at least has that name attached to it. It turns out that most kids who are diagnosed become adults living with diabetes. Well, let's start with you. What's it all about, living with type 1 diabetes?
Well, it is truly a 24-hour disease. It's not something, people say that insulin, that maintains it, the insulin pumps maintain it, they're fine, they don't need any more research funding. But it is truly, every hour and a half or so you have to check your blood sugar. If your blood sugar is high, you're hyper, you're shaky, you can't focus on tests, for example. And if you're low, you can't focus, you're dizzy, you could pass out, you could go into a coma if you get too high. So, I mean, depending on where you are, it's a 24-hour disease. Yeah,
and I think people look at you guys and hear these strapping young men. Both of you are athletes. You're a rower, or crew over at St. John's. Miles Conklin, a basketball player for Ed Heinzel and the Titans. So Titans in more ways than one here combating this disease. But Miles, you were diagnosed when with
when I was seven years old in first grade. Yeah.
All right, take us through your experience. A day at St. John's in high school. It is not your typical day, is it?
No, not for a typical person. I wake up, check my sugar, and then I go to school, eat lunch, check my sugar then, report with the nurse, make sure my numbers are all right, and then after school I have basketball practice and I have to check my sugar there, and usually it's more like 4 or 5 times when I play basketball.
That often? That often. And Heinzel knows that. He's good with that, right?
He's good with it.
Okay, good. He better be, right?
Yes.
All right, and Lori, you see these young men, and they look like everything's cool, got it all together. But type 1 diabetes affects millions of people, young and not so young.
30,000 a year, adults and children, and we use the term strikes because it comes at you with very or little no warning. You have, like for today, it's very hot outside. Extreme thirst, going to the restroom. Those are key signs of having type 1. And generally, when you do find out that your child has this, you're in the hospital, as these, the boys can contest, 5-6 days, depending, how it is. And you can't leave your child until you know how to keep them alive. I mean, for a parent, and I'm not a parent with one with type 1, but I meet them, I know them, and I don't want to be one.
I would think as a parent, you're always on edge. You're always, it's kind of like always looking over your shoulder.
I don't think these boys' moms slept a day since they've been 5 or 7. And because of what Will said, you can go low, and when you go to bed and you check your sugar and you're okay, and you wake up and you check during that night when you sleep, you could be up and down and you don't know. And it's very scary. And like Will said, insulin is not a cure. What we do for JDRF are research. We're trying to find a cure, and along the way we have our pumps, we have everything, but I guarantee you people want that cure.
Have you both had episodes where there have been scares and you've had to get to the hospital, and I think, Miles, you said it's about the number, right? Have you both had episodes?
Yeah. I have passed out 3 times, I believe. One was at my grandmother's house. One was actually almost in 7th grade, right before the positive direction race at St. Joe's. That was good. And then another time at home. Just all 3 of them were lows, and it's the typical going unconscious thing where you think you're falling asleep and then you wake up 4 hours later. And of course my mom found me and was, because I was home alone at the time or at my grandma's, and it was I ended up being okay, but it's still something that could have ended badly.
Wow, you too, Miles?
Yeah,
similar situations?
I've had one major episode where I passed out and just woken up later in the hospital, and I've had a lot of close accidents where I've caught it at the last second, and it's really scary when you're playing basketball or in a sport. You're that low and you've already played, so it's gonna keep coming down. So it could happen anytime, so you gotta act quick.
When we talk about the promo, we showed the video where Diane and you guys are dressed in your uniforms and what have you, and you're ready to go. There is a message there that you can live with this. You can live a vibrant, viable life, right? Yeah. But the race for the cure continues, so to speak, I should say. But
right.
but the quest for a cure.
The quest for a cure.
continues.
This is no way to live. I mean,
Right.
let's be fair.
Right.
We don't want to tell people who have type 1 and they're very young or they're teenagers that you can't, kind of continue to do something. We never want to say that because they can. They have something else they have to do with, to check and things like that. They just have that that kind of obstacle to overcome, but they can.
What about inroads, Lori, in the way it's treated and the way they can live with it? What about inroads in research that JDRF has come up with?
Millions of dollars has been spent, and we're on the verge of some, great things. Smart insulin that, we hope that we kind of have an insulin that you can inject that will, go in your bloodstream. So like all day long, you don't have to check. But some of these things are so far in between, So we're just trying to find ways, to make it less for these kids, to check. One less, check in the day until there's none.
A little less invasive
Right.
infringement on your lives, and you have enough of those infringements, it seems like, daily. Let's talk about the walk itself. This is your big event, correct?
This is our biggest
2 weeks from today.
fundraiser, 2 weeks from today, so there's still time to register or to donate, and I believe you can go onto your website as well.
Sure.
There's a link onto ours. We have about 100 teams now registered, but we have usually about 148 to 50, 2,000 people usually come, plus.
It won't be 96 degrees either.
Well, I hope not. Talk to Jay. He says a nice, cool fall day, so I'm holding him to that. It's a great event for the families and friends and for other type 1s, to meet other kids and their families and to bond, because sometimes you feel lost out there when you're a parent and you just don't know what to do, so.
It is the fight to cure diabetes. People living with type 1 of all ages, and you're about to become adults with type 1 diabetes. Parents should be very proud of both of you. Thank you so much for coming on. Miles, best of luck at St. John's, the upcoming hoop season. Rowing crew, Will Beebe.
Thank you.
I know your program over there is pretty good. I've heard about it. And Lori Lamb, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Hope to see everybody out at the JDRF Walk 2 weeks from today. And we'll be back on Conklin & Company right after this.